Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillahi wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah, amma ba'd. The theme of this month is, as we began last week, tazkiyah. Tazkiyatun nafs, unclouding your fitrah. And before we go into our specific topic today, I just want to mention a few things about the concept of tazkiyah. What is purification of the soul, purification of the heart? And when we talk about diseases of the heart, because that's what we're doing. Every week we're picking a new sort of problem or disease of the heart. Okay? Diseases of the heart work much in the same way as diseases of the limbs, in the sense that illnesses and diseases have certain signs and symptoms in the way that they show up in your life. Yeah, for example, if you have a cold, you get, what do you get, like runny nose, you get a cough, that kind of thing. And different diseases can have similar symptoms, similar signs. Okay? And once you figure out what the illness is, you treat that specific disease. So there's sort of signs and symptoms and there's treatments. Same way with diseases of the heart, there are signs and symptoms of diseases of the heart. There are specific, particular ways that they can show up in one's life. And there's different diseases that can have similar signs and symptoms as well. And then you treat them in particular ways, as dictated by us in the Quran and Sunnah. Okay? With diseases of the heart, things get a bit more tricky or complex. Why? Because when you have something like a cold or a flu, you can see it, you can feel it. You feel ill, you feel sick, you don't want to get out of bed, yeah? But with diseases of the heart, do you actually know you have them? You won't know unless you reflect or someone points it out to you. And that's why the first step of tazkiyah is to identify the signs and symptoms in your life, reflect on yourself and accept the truth to begin with. Because if you don't accept something, if you don't realize you have something, you can't change it. So that's number one. And we're going to go through a few signs and symptoms of our topic today. And so the objective is to think, does this play up in my life? Reflect, does this happen to me? The topic of today is, I am the greatest. What do you think, or what particular disease do you think this one is about? I want to get some involvement. What do you think we're talking about? Ego, pride, takabbur? Any other takers? Arrogance, kibur, takabbur? We're going to talk about something very similar to this, but not quite. It's similar to arrogance. It's similar to takabbur and kibur. It's not exactly that. Any other takers? Any other guesses? No. I am the best. But what sort of, like, when we talk diseases of the heart, what type of disease is this? Not quite. Boastful. These are very good answers, mashallah. Reliance on ghayrullah, other than Allah. These are all diseases. As I said, there's different types with similar signs and symptoms. Today we're going to be talking about something called ujub. Ujub, Ain Jeen Ba. Ujub. And ujub is something that anyone with a platform, that anyone that has certain skills, attributes, talents, anyone that has achievements, accomplishments, or any sort of good in their life, prestige, honor, status, respect from the people, anyone that has any of that is at risk of falling into ujub. So pretty much everyone. No? What is ujub? It's a difficult word to translate. Some texts say things like self-amazement or self-conceit or vanity. But think of ujub like this. Imagine that you are walking in a dark forest, a dark and gloomy forest. And there's not much hope there, it's very gloomy. And you're walking through, and then all of a sudden you come across a big, vast piece of land, or you see a beautiful waterfall. You see something amazing. You see crystal clear water. You see hope. Or you see, for example, peace and serenity and tranquility. You see something amazing in the midst of that dark forest. What sort of feelings do you get? What sort of emotions do you get? You're thinking, like, wow, where did this come from? Ajib. Yeah? Ajib. Amazing. Ujub is those feelings and emotions directed toward the self. It could be. But again, Arabic is very difficult to translate. No? But ajib, or you feel ujub toward the self. Attributing one's excellence to oneself, attributing one's attributes, possessions, talents, achievements, status, prestige, this all came from me. This was from my hard work. You're a hafiz of the Quran. I worked hard for this. You're studying or you're memorizing or any of these things. This came from me. This is ujub. And we're going to discuss a few, again, signs of what ujub looks like and ways we can combat it and why we have to combat it, why we have to battle against it. The first symptom or sign of ujub is forgetting the source and the purpose of blessings. When you have blessings in your life and you forget where it came from. So for example, you think of the years of hard work, and tireless years of hard work and preparation toward a certain project or a goal, and then you achieve that goal and you see the results and you think, man, I worked hard for this, I deserve this, alhamdulillah. Yeah? It's from my hard work, I worked hard for this. I did this all by myself. Or in business, for example, when you're successful in business, you look at yourself and you think, I've got a lot of talent in this kind of thing. It came from my talents. It came from my financial prowess or financial talents. You forget that the bounties that you get are a gift from Allah and you think you are entitled to them. And you forget that the blessings that you have can be snatched away from you at any time. You can have certain talents and skills, but you forget that it didn't come from you, so it could be taken away from you at any time. You don't realize that. One way to look at it is when you focus on the means and not the creator of the means. Imagine you design something like we've got AI machine, yeah? Intelligence, artificial intelligence, robots. Imagine you design that yourself and that AI machine comes up with a beautiful something like a talk or a beautiful poetry. You were saying it, yeah, poetry. And imagine that robot thinks, man, I came up with this myself. How amazing am I? Right? When you forget that it didn't come from you in the first place. The second sign or symptom of ujub is being impressed with yourself. So when you look at yourself, for example, in the mirror, or you look at your achievements, your accomplishments, and your assets and things that you have, and you admire yourself. When you see, for example, your certificates or your trophies, you've got a trophy wall hanging, and you're thinking, wow, mashallah, amazing. When you admire yourself because of it. And you think that due to these blessings, Allah loves you. Because of these blessings, I have all these talents and skills, and I have all these possessions. That means I am favored by Allah. And you forget in the concept of istidraj. What's istidraj? Test? Yeah, Allah giving you, giving you more space until the ultimate result, until the actual punishment. So you might be given blessings upon blessings upon blessings, and you're in ghafla, you're in a heedless state. You think, oh, mashallah, amazing, and you forget Allah and you sin and all these things until the consequence, pretty much. Istidraj. Now, He tests you with these gifts. Now, فأما إذا ما ابتلاه ربه فأكرمه ونعمه فيقول ربي أكرمن وأما إذا ما ابتلاه ربه فقدر عليه رزقه فيقول ربي أهانن. Okay, when blessings come your way, you think, oh, Allah has honored me. And when the opposite comes, you think Allah has humiliated me. When you think that your blessings or otherwise are dependent on Allah's love or hatred towards you. The third sign or symptom of ujub is social media presence. This doesn't happen in our times, does it? Social media presence. When you spend a vast amount of time trying to project a positive image of yourself to others. When you think of, what am I next going to post? What's going to bring about a reaction? How can I get more likes and more comments? How can I be known? All right? Sharing something about yourself or provocative so that you get more comments and likes and people will start talking about you. Or spending a lot of time thinking about what to post. Just the concept of thinking. Thinking of how I can present myself. Okay? Sure, social media in general as well, but social media is a very common one for today. These are sort of the three main signs and symptoms of ujub, right? Self-amazement, feeling amazed towards the self, admiring yourself and forgetting where your talents and skills and attributes actually came from. What do you think of these three things? What do you think is the underlying problem, underlying issue? If someone values themselves, because of their achievements or their attributes or the talents they have all these blessings and they think they're something because of that. What do you think is the underlying problem here? Worshipping themselves? What could it be? The hearts are clouded and we're trying to uncloud it. Think of it this way. If someone with ujub didn't have these talents and skills, possessions, attributes, accomplishments, didn't have any of this, how would they feel? Would they still feel good about themselves? Low self-esteem. So ujub, the underlying issue behind ujub can be low self-esteem or lack of valuing the self. When you don't value yourself in the way that it should be done, you start to value yourself through material things. Now, you've got a big house, mashallah. Therefore, I'm something. You've got a lot of wealth, you've got prestige, you've got accomplishments, you've got certificates, you've got all these things. Therefore, I am something. Therefore, I value myself. Now, and so the treatment is to understand, and it's the issue of value here, to understand where does value actually come from? What makes something valuable? Objectively, okay? Because subjectively, amongst society, we've become attached or valued certain things over others. We value people with nice cars. That's what we've become. That's what we've come to. Pretty much. We value these things. Therefore, people find value in themselves because of these things. The true source of value, okay? Listen carefully to this. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. Allah has given honor to the human being. How? Human being or mankind by nature is it's a manifestation. We are a manifestation of Allah's glory, of Allah's creation, of Allah's names and attributes. Allah chose to create us. Think about this. Imagine you have a car designer, someone who designs cars. You have two different ones. One of them just started out in the industry, doesn't know much about the system, is learning, and he's designing cars. The other one is very experienced, very intelligent, very wise, knows the industry inside out, knows how to design cars, and say they both design their best car. Which car has more value? Which car has more value? The second one. Why? Because of who created it, because of who designed it in the first place. If we understand Allah and who Allah is, right, the nature of Allah, that automatically gives us value, just for being creation of Allah. Okay? And that's like the first level. Everyone has this. All mankind has this. Everyone has that. Allah has honored us. But then we go to the second tier or the second level. What makes one human being more valuable than another? Knowledge? Blessing? We just spoke about that. Objective sense. True value. What makes one person more valuable? Their belief? Sorry? Hafad, help us out. Inna akramakum inda Allahi atqakum. Okay. So وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We gave honor, we gave value to the human being. But إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. The most valuable amongst you in the sight of Allah, objectively, are the ones with more taqwa, the most taqwa. Now, so your value as a human being is dependent on the level of your taqwa. When you understand this, okay, I will try and increase my taqwa, I obey Allah in His commands, I stay away from His prohibitions. Just by doing that, you have increased your value. You have increased your objective value as a human being. And when you do that, it doesn't matter what, material possessions that you have. Those accomplishments, they don't matter. They came from Allah. But my true value and the true criteria between what makes me superior to someone else is my taqwa. And from taqwa emanates all the other qualities. Okay, akhlaq, ibadah, all these things. Humility as well. Naam. Inna Allaha la yanzuru ila suwarikum wa amwalikum walakin yanzuru ila qulubikum wa a'malikum. Allah does not look at your appearance or your wealth, rather He looks at what's in your hearts and a'malikum, and your deeds. To know what makes you more valuable as a human being, Allah is the objective standard. He decides what makes someone more valuable because He is the ultimate source of value. Make sense? طيب. Reminding oneself of death. When you realize that all of these efforts that you put in, and maybe you achieve results, upon death, what happens? All of it ceases. It all stops. So what's the point? What remains behind? Deeds, sadaqah, na'am, things that you did for the akhirah remain behind. So if you worked hard for this, your hifz or your career or whatever it is, if you worked hard for this, for the dunya and for the blessings and to feel good about yourself, what's going to happen when you die? It's all ceased, it's all finished. But if you worked hard for all these things with the akhirah in mind, you're doing it fi sabilillah, purely for Allah's sake, again, there's taqwa involved in this. You go into your career and you stay away from what's haram to do, and you do what's halal to do. That's taqwa in your career. Nah? These things do not cease after death. And this is sort of a litmus test. Whenever you want to do something or work hard towards something, ask yourself, is it helping me coming close to Allah? Is it helping me come close to Allah? Is it helping me in my akhirah? If not, it's a futile action. If not, just know it's not going to survive after your death. Next way to treat this issue of ujub is gratitude to Allah. And reflecting on how you achieved what you achieved. For example, who's in school still? Anyone? Uni? No. You go to uni and you're studying hard for an exam and you work really hard for months and you ace the exam, top of the class. How do you feel about yourself? Feels good. MashaAllah, I worked hard for this, right? But there's something you're forgetting. Think about the factors that were involved for you to do well in this exam. You've got limbs. Did you work for your limbs to write the exam? Did you work for the intelligence to write the exam? Did you get the opportunity to be in Australia, for example? The opportunity to go to university? To be around certain friend groups? Social environments that will push you? A family? Did you work for any of those factors? We think of our strength, our talent, our genetics, our brain, our limbs, all these things were factors that put me in that position to work hard for the exam. So even me working towards something is credited towards Allah. وَاللَّهُ خَلَقَكُمْ وَمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. He created you and what you do, because He created your form. He created your ability to do these things. Through these things, you perform actions. So Allah takes credit because He gave you the ability to in the first place. Nah? And then the results as well. The results of your exam. Were you in control of the marker? They could have looked at your name. They could have just had a bad day. Nah? All of these factors you had no control over, beside the choice to work hard. Now, just a couple more. Consider your imperfections. Accept your imperfections and realize that Allah created you a human being and not an angel. And that's okay, accept it. كُلُّ بَنِي آدَمَ خَطَّاء وَخَيْرُ الْخَطَّائِينَ التَّوَّابُونَ. Whenever you think you've risen to a certain level, whenever you think, you're something, I'm amazing, mashallah, remember that كُلُّ بَنِي آدَمَ خَطَّاء. Even in your efforts, there is mistakes. Even in your efforts, there is imperfections. Allah does not expect perfection from you. What does He expect? خَيْرُ الْخَطَّائِينَ التَّوَّابُونَ. Tawbah. Allah expects that you make tawbah. Why do we, after our salah, what do we say? Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. We just prayed. We just prayed salah. What's sinful about that? Yeah? We're saying astaghfirullah, oh Allah, forgive my imperfections in my salah. And final one, bi'idhnillah. If you are afflicted by ujub, practice not sharing your achievements with others. Now, this is different to encouragement. Yes, we encourage others. If you can share it, encourage others, different story. We're talking about ujub here. If you've got an issue of ujub, practice when you achieve something, accomplish something, keep it to yourself. And what do? فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا. When the victory and the help of Allah comes and you see, O Prophet, you see mankind coming to entering Islam in flocks, in huge numbers. Yeah, the Prophet ﷺ, what was his mission? Da'wah, calling to Allah. Allah is saying, when you see the results of your efforts, فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ. What should you do? Give yourself a pat on the back? Praise yourself? فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ. Glorify and praise Allah and seek forgiveness. So instead of being amazed at yourself, be amazed by the one who gave you these results. فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ. And again, وَاسْتَغْفِرْ. And seek forgiveness. Now, ultimately, it's Allah that's showing His magnificence, His glory through me, through the work that I've done. But it's Allah showing me, it's Allah giving me the opportunity, it's Allah giving me the results and showing His grandeur through my results. طيب. So that's ujub in a nutshell. Now, we'll end it there inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.